All right, well, welcome back to our third lesson in the Bless series. We're going to be going through the third letter of the acronym E for EAT. So this should be an easy one for all of us because that's a fun one to do. So I think I'll start with just sharing a few scriptures that talk about, how much Jesus really was involved in sharing a meal with people. It really kind of highlights how important it was for him. I think it's just a good place to kind of set the tone for this conversation. So just a few examples. Jesus' first miracle happened at a wedding feast. Two very well-known miracles were feeding of the 4,000 and feeding of the 5,000. The night before Jesus was crucified, they had the Last Supper. After his resurrection, he had breakfast on the beach with his disciples. And then the last one I'll mention here is in Matthew's gospel. When Jesus called Matthew, the first thing we see in their relationship was Jesus was at his house eating with him. And maybe if I was thinking about this and didn't know the context, I would think the first time that you're Jesus' disciple, the first time that you do something with him, I would think it'd be, start like a training regimen or something like way over the top. But he's having a meal with them, and it actually says that he ate with tax collectors and sinners at that same time. So obviously eating, sharing a meal with people was very central in Jesus' mission here on earth, and how he was just building relationships with people. So Patty, some questions for you. The last few videos, you've mentioned that you really try and focus on building a relationship with somebody when you're trying to bless them and ultimately share the gospel with them.
Correct.
So how important is sharing a meal together in that process?
I think it's very important because it shares that experience with individuals where you can come together and connect. And then you create lasting memories with them. Just sitting around the table carrying on conversations kind of helps you connect.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So does it kind of like break down barriers when you're just...
It does, because then you feel more comfortable. If I'm sitting here having a meal with you, just carrying on conversations, I'm going to start developing that relationship with you. And it's going to help break down those barriers and feel more comfortable around you.
Yeah. So there's no pressure eating a meal. I mean, we're all naturals at that, I think.
Correct.
So.
I agree.
That's good. So this is something that the book talks about, obviously. We got some examples through Scripture, but as you're working with people, is sharing a meal with them something you try to do regularly?
It just depends on the situation, where we're meeting at. I mean, is it, sometimes it's like, is it easier to meet at a restaurant? Is it easier to meet at my house? Is it easier to meet at the church? Just depending on what the situation is, and then the food comes involved in it.
Yeah, okay.
Different situations, it's different.
Yeah, so you're tailoring it to that person, but oftentimes does end up in sharing a meal. Mm-hmm. Very good. So you kind of already answered this, but what is it about sharing a meal that's so effective in building those relationships? Anything extra there?
I think it's a way of creating, connecting to others and breaking that bridge, just kind of, it's a source of not only nourishing your body, it's nourishing you, with God too.
Yeah.
Your spiritual needs.
Yeah. Very good. And you kind of said that, sometimes you meet at a church, sometimes you meet at their house, your house. Mm-hmm. When you're specifically about sharing a meal, do you always go to a restaurant, or is it someone's house, or is anything fair game?
Yeah, sometimes I may have somebody over to my house and I'll just, fix something light, like a light lunch or whatever, and invite them over for that.
Okay. So the location depends on the person, but that's not the focus
and
here.
The meal depends on the person too.
Right. So when you're eating with someone, how often are you talking about religion specifically?
Quite often, because again, you start out with prayer, and And then you just kind of, I know in my conversation when we're talking, I'll pull in that conversation, well, where do you go to church at?
Yeah.
Or, start out with that way of getting started on the religion part.
Are there times where religion doesn't come up, like you just don't feel like it's the right time?
I have not experienced that yet.
Okay, so you're always able to work it in.
Yeah, you just got to go with the conversation and slide it in where you can.
Okay. Yeah, very good. I think a lot of times, in our experience, we have the same thing. Like typically, people know that we're Christians already. However, we built that relationship to start with, and then if we're to the point of having a meal with them, it just is natural to talk about it. But it may not be the first thing we talk about.
Correct, because you might, if you throw it in there right off the bat, then they're going to know what it's all about.
Right.
But this way, you just kind of slide it in.
Yeah.
But when you start out with prayer, that says a lot too.
Yeah. You mean that day, or when you get around the meal, you pray for the food?
Correct, and I always say, do you mind if I, say prayer?
Yeah.
And then pray for the food, and hopefully that'll get us start off as.
Yeah, right. That kind of sets the stage, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Now, I kind of want to see how you laid out this example. So let's say you have kids, you got little ones. It might be challenging to be able to have a meal with someone. So what are some things that somebody can do if they've got little kids that add a layer of complexity?
Number one, they can get a babysitter. Number two, you can just do something at their house or your house where the kids are involved. A backyard barbecue or a picnic. I mean, in that way, the kids are involved too.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. You have kids.
Yeah.
So how would you do? I mean, what do you do in those things?
So Lauren and we have to plan for this at this point in our lives. A few years ago, before we had kids, if you would have called me at 5 o'clock and said, hey, you want to grab dinner tonight? By 5:30, we could pretty much be anywhere doing anything. Now, if you call me at 5, I'm like, nah, we got to start bedtime and changing diapers, and it's a whole thing. Anybody with kids gets that. But we're just not near as flexible as what we used to be. But some things we try to do is we try to have people to our house, because we have home field advantage with the kids.
Right.
If we can still do nap time, we could still, they have their toys, we can still do the bedtime routine. But it makes us think ahead about it and plan for it, maybe schedule it a few days ahead of time. If it's appropriate to go out to eat, we might get a babysitter, or at least for one of the kids. We got a 2-month-old right now, so she's got to go with us. But those are some things. Plan ahead for it, line it up.
But I think it's great having the kids involved, because the kids are growing up, hopefully, in those surroundings, and that's teaching them too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're able to do it with them is really good. And generally, if we're going to someone's house, we always take the kids, and it works out well if somebody else has kids at the same age, because then they just kind of watch themselves and you don't have to step in all that often. So that does work. But that's a really good example for your kids when they see you building relationships with people and talking about Scripture, talking about God, and just making it a part of your lives. That's definitely going to be impactful for them as they get older.
And even though you think they're playing or not listening, they're listening. Yeah,
right. That old saying, more is caught than taught, right? Is there anything that I missed here that you wanted to touch on?
I think we pretty much touched on everything.
Okay. Well, I got a few questions I didn't give you ahead of time.
No.
So then the last question I have for you is, we've been setting this context like, you're working with somebody, you're blessing that person, but through the course of a meal or just that time together, have you been blessed by somebody, and maybe in an unexpected way?
Oh, absolutely. I think so, because I think when you hear other people's situation, it makes you feel more treasured with your closeness with God.
Yeah, Okay, yeah, that's really good. So maybe not the intent you go in with, but
Correct.
it always has an impact on you.
Correct.
Yeah, that's really good. I would echo that. Like maybe we think, especially with kids now, you think, oh, it's going to be a lot of work to do this, and that, but you end up in really good conversation, and you spend time in prayer with those other people you're with, and
You walk away there feeling good and feeling blessed.
Absolutely. So that's good. Well, hopefully that maybe motivates people to be intentional with this part of it too.